Chapter 51. Universes in Universes. The universe is really a dream. Everything else we have spoken about, and all the planes of our universe, exist only in this universe, this dream, and so only matter while we are here. Eventually, we will leave this dream. A dream is a closed system which exists due to the awareness of the creator of the dream. The creator of the dream is called God. Our universe and all its planes are a dream of God. We also create universes, of which we are the God. Every time you dream at night, or daydream, or think any thought at all, you are creating a new universe. Every thought is a new universe. It exists for the amount of time you are thinking about it. Then, when your awareness moves to something else, it ceases to exist. This is how thinking works. All thoughts are universes, because a universe is any closed system in which there is awareness, or just any closed system. But if there was no awareness, then it wouldn't exist, since nothing would be aware of it. There is nothing outside of awareness. In fact, there can't be. Nothing can be outside of God by definition. So when God creates a universe, it is created inside of himself, so to speak. When you dream, the dream is inside of you, but at the same time, it is a different reality and a different universe to this universe. It is a universe in a universe. I will elaborate. Whenever you think something, your thought exists. But where does it exist? It is existent in your awareness, and it only exists because you are thinking it. Your awareness created it. This, then, is a new universe. You created it to work out a problem, or to experience something. This new universe attempts to do what it was created for, and from this you intend to learn something. However, we can only create very weak and not particularly useful universes, since we are already so limited in this one. We don't have enough awareness to make a very complicated universe. So we just make very simple ones, and they don't work very well. It's better not to get answers from thoughts, therefore, since they are of our own creation, and so can't tell us something we don't already know. The best source for knowledge or inspiration is something in this universe, or better, from the one above, from God. So anyway, God created a universe, the one we are in, with a thought, and he wanted to experience it, so he created life forms and lent his awareness to each one. Each one of us does our own thing, and we have our own opinions, but the awareness in you, your consciousness, is God. We are all God. He's playing all of us at the same time. But pretty much everything in this universe has awareness, including rocks and planets and suns. They just have awareness in a different way to us humans. God is in everything. Everything is awareness. Most of us have had the experience of lucid dreams, which are common in childhood. A lucid dream is when you are dreaming and then suddenly you are aware that you are dreaming. You remember who you are, but you are still in the dream. At this point, it becomes possible to control the dream, and since it is a dream, you can make anything happen. Before you are lucid, you are running around in some dream story, thinking that you are this dream character. But when you become lucid, you remember yourself and stop acting. The experience of lucid dreams is the same experience as the true awakening in this dream also. We are all running and playing dream characters of our own creation, and we have forgotten who we really are. When awakened, we understand we are really God, and since we now understand we are just in a dream, we can do fun things, such as make water turn into wine, etc. But there's more. God is also in a dream of another God. Everything is dreams, since I'm using the word dream for any closed system of awareness. So the journey does not end here. So when we awaken from this dream and transcend, we will be able to create new universes according to our desires, and play around like this until we get bored and decide to transcend again. The only reason we are here is because of desire. Actually, our existence as an individual, which becomes less and less until we reach the highest God, is only a chain of desires. If you didn't want anything, you wouldn't be here. There is a method for enlightenment called the path of renunciation, which teaches you to become enlightened by not wanting anything. But the problem with this is that even wanting to become enlightened, or wanting to not want, is desire. All that person is really doing is thinking so much about enlightenment that they attract it, since they are adjusting their tuning to it and therefore attracting it. They haven't really stopped their desires, only focused them. Not desiring is not something we can do at this stage, else we wouldn't be here. Focusing your awareness on something does attract it, in the same way that matter attracts matter, gravity. But it also works for concepts and more sophisticated ideas. Matter is just a concept. Quote, "If God knows everything there is to know, then I ask, how can God learn or grow? If you knew all that was and all that will be, then how can any decision you make be free? If you were everything and everything was you, then there would be nothing for you to do." And there we find God, in this very position, imprisoned by the power of his own condition. But there is a way to escape from this net. All that God would have to do is forget. Forget what he was, and in ignorance find choice and free will from confusion of mind. And so God created a plane of limitation, that confusing place we call creation, a place of ignorance where we're free to choose, free to make mistakes, and free to lose. For only a being who knows not what is true has the free will to choose what to do. Through us, God can live, think, feel, and see, and experience he knew, but now he can be. Yet though we've forgotten where we come from, the closer we get, the happier we become. With control of awareness, you can return, but you have less choice the more you learn. Each mortal longs for the infinite's touch, yet the infinite longs to know not so much. End quote. Chapter 52. The Alchemist's Prophecy. Quote, from the book concerning the tincture of the philosophers, by Theophrastus Paracelsus, 16th century. And although these may by the Lord God be made manifest to anyone, still the rumor of this art does not on that account at once break forth, but the Almighty gives therewith the understanding how to conceal these and other like arts, even to the coming of Elias the artist, at which time there shall be nothing so occult that it shall not be revealed. Quote, from the Aurora of the Philosophers, by Theophrastus Paracelsus, 16th century. In the last times there should come a most pure man upon the earth, by whom the redemption of the world should be brought about, and that this man should send forth bloody drops of a red color, by means of which he should redeem the world from sin. Quote, from an open entrance to the closed palace of the king, by an anonymous sage and lover of truth, 1645 A.D. The time has arrived when we may speak more freely about this art, for Elias the artist is at hand, and glorious things are already spoken of in the city of God. I possess wealth sufficient to buy the whole world, but as yet I may not use it on account of the craft and cruelty of wicked men. It is not from jealousy that I conceal as much as I do. God knows that I am weary of this lonely, wandering life, shut out from the bonds of friendship, and almost from the face of God. I do not worship the golden calf, before which our Israelites bow low to the ground. Let it be ground to powder like the brazen serpent. I hope that in a few years gold, not as given by God, but as abused by man, will be so common that those who are now so mad after it shall contemptuously spurn aside this bulwark of Antichrist. Then will the day of our deliverance be at hand, when the streets of the New Jerusalem are paved with gold, and its gates are made of great diamonds. The day is at hand when, by means of this my book, gold will have become as common as dirt, when we sages shall find rest for the soles of our feet, and render fervent thanks to God. My heart conceives unspeakable things, and is enlarged for the good of the Israel of God. These words I utter forth with a herald's clarion tones. My book is the precursor of Elias, designed to prepare the royal way of the Master, and would to God that by its means all men might become adepts in our art. For then gold, the great idol of mankind, would lose its value, and we should prize it only for its scientific teaching. Virtue would be loved for its own sake. I am familiar with many possessors of this art who regard silence as the great point of honor. But I have been enabled by God to take a different view of the matter, and I firmly believe that I can best serve the Israel of God and put my talent out at usury by making this secret knowledge the common property of the whole world. Hence I have not conferred with flesh and blood, nor attempted to obtain the consent of my brother sages. If the matter succeeds according to my desire and prayer, they will all rejoice that I have published this book. Quote from the Chemical Treatise, or The Ordinal of Alchemy, by Thomas Norton, 1477 A.D. One who shall have obtained his honors by means of this art will mend old manners, and change them for the better. When he comes, he will reform the kingdom, and by his goodness and virtue he will set an everlasting example to rulers. In his time, the common people will rejoice and render praise to God in mutual neighborly love. O King, who art to accomplish all this, pray to God the King and implore his aid in the matter. So the glory of thy mind will be crowned with the glory of a golden age, which shall not then be hoped for as future. Within the short space of 10 days, the same bed in a house near Leadenhall was successively occupied by 3 masters of this art, every one of whom possessed both the white and the red tincture, though hardly one person amongst 1,000,000 of men ever becomes possessed of the glorious prize. One of them, as I was told, was from the Duchy of Lorraine. The second hailed from the Midland counties of England. The third was the youngest, and was born near a cross, which stands at the boundary of the 3 shires. Wise men had foretold from the conjunction of planets that prevailed at his birth that he would be an ornament to England. Anyone might travel through the length and breadth of Europe without meeting with 3 such masters. 2 of them are about to depart, but the third will remain and do much good in this part of the world. Nevertheless, the sins of our rulers will delay the good which otherwise he might confer upon our country at once. The oldest of the 3 masters prophesied concerning this young adept, that he would have to endure much suffering at the hands of those who owed him the greatest debt of gratitude. He also uttered many other prophecies, some of which were verified by the event, while the rest remained to be fulfilled. One thing is most certain, he said. After great sorrow, there will be great joy in all parts of this country, joy which will be experienced by all good men. The youth inquired when this thing should be, and the old man's answer was that it should come to pass when the cross was honored by night and by day in the land of God and the land of light, which thing will happen in due time, but is delayed by the grievous wickedness of men. But when the blessed hour arrives, this art will be revealed to a king, and more glorious things will then be brought to pass than it is possible for us to enumerate in this place, when he shall have reformed our manners and abolished all abuses. He will investigate this science in secret, and will be instructed in it by hermits or monks. End quote. Chapter 53. Afterword. So there we have it. How to make the Philosopher's Stone. Sorry if this book seems a little rushed and my style informal. I wrote it in just 3 weeks, but everything you need to know is in here. So I know what you're asking now. Where is it, right? I'll come clean. I haven't finished it yet. At the time of writing, I'm up to the black stage. All the signs occurred exactly as predicted by the alchemists. So why did I write the book before finishing the stone? Because I felt that it was the right thing to do, is the simple answer. What happens if I get hit by a bus and never finish it? By putting out this book, I am ensuring the stone will be found, and it takes the pressure off me. Additionally, without a book of instructions, no one would understand how to multiply the stone, or how it works. It would be a somewhat confusing situation with the stone being distributed and no one understanding what it is or what it does. Better you understand it properly before it comes. Furthermore, I'm hoping that some people are wandering around who have the stone, and on release of this book, they'll give it out. Or maybe the Shambhala people will reveal themselves. Or someone might have a great idea to use a different substance, which will make the process much shorter. Perhaps there is a vial of white or red powder in the basement of some church or museum. Try to project it, see what happens. If anyone finds the stone, you must give it out to the world. Who knows what will happen to me? I might just disappear. Quote from The Crowning of Nature by Anonymous, 16th to 17th century. He that knoweth not what he seeketh shall not know what he shall find. End quote. Chapter 54. Help. The only way this book will get around is if the reader, i.e. you, help to distribute it. It will not magically distribute itself. Without help from you to distribute, this book and the truths written herein will fade again into the forgotten realms of long-lost secrets. However, you found this book, whether it be a link from a website, on a forum, an email from a friend, or any other means. Someone made an effort to help distribute this book in order that you could find it. So I am requesting that you return the favor and pass this book along to more people. Whether you completely understand and believe what is written in this book, or even if you just think it an entertaining read, I am asking you to please help other people find this book. By passing it along, you are allowing each person to at least have the chance to come to their own opinion regarding the reality or unreality of alchemy and the stone. This book is free, so at any rate, you are only doing the other person a favor. They will read it if it interests them, and not if it doesn't, and then no harm done. While there may be a danger for me in writing this book, there is no danger for you in helping to distribute it. It will only require a small amount of your time, or as much as you are willing to give. Please email the link bookofaquarius.forgottenbooks.org to your friends, family, and coworkers. If you are a member of any internet forums, please post a new topic for this book. If you run a website, please add a link to bookofaquarius.forgottenbooks.org. If you would prefer to anonymously email your friends, family, and coworkers in case they judge you negatively for your interest in alchemy, then you can email them anonymously from here. bookofaquarius.forgottenbooks.org/email. For those who are willing to be active in helping to distribute the book, I have put together a list of ways that you can help, and also a private forum for discussion on the subject of distribution. If you are willing to do a good deed, please sign up to become an active distributor at bookofaquarius.forgottenbooks.org/help. I'd like to thank Forgotten Books, who have been particularly helpful in distributing the Book of Aquarius. They have provided free hosting and a link on every page of their website, as well as an announcement to their subscribers. Additionally, Forgotten Books has offered to actively advertise the Book of Aquarius in exchange for a mention of their products here. Of course, this book is completely free, but if you are interested in further reading and you would like to donate to the cause of helping to distribute this book in a monetary way, then Forgotten Books has promised to spend on marketing 50% of all revenue they make from sales of the physical book, which will be for sale on Amazon internationally, and also sales of their ebook membership, if you order through the link below. Of course, there's no point in purchasing unless you're actually interested in the products sold by Forgotten Books. I'm not asking you to spend money that you otherwise would not, but just remember that if you want to purchase membership from Forgotten Books, to use this link so as to help distribute the Book of Aquarius. www.forgottenbooks.org?ref equals Book of Aquarius. Chapter 55. Questions and Answers. The following are all real questions asked to me by readers of this book, and my replies. Question: is this the same or similar to the white stone of urine, which was popular on the internet a few years ago? Answer: no. The white stone of urine was a misinterpretation of the alchemical writings. They took certain metaphorical parts literally, and so were involved with taking the oil of the urine, etc. This would not and did not work. In order to make the stone, we have to follow the guidance of nature. Question: to get to the white stone, you say that you need silver, and the red stone needs gold. Gold can't be used for both? Answer: silver for silver, gold for gold. No, you cannot use gold for both. Question: how much of the stone, approximately, will there be after the white stage? Answer: this depends on how much white salt you gather from the first part. Question: what is the difference besides strength of the white stone versus the red stone? Answer: the red stone and the white stone are the same in a way. The red stone is just much more powerful. Of course, the white stone transmutes metals into silver, whereas the red stone transmutes them into gold. As for the effects on the body, it is the red stone that can make an old person healthy and fit again, whereas the white stone will cure many diseases, but will not cure old age. Question: how do you use the stone? There were not specific instructions on how to ingest, or turn into a tincture, or to change the structure of other metals, and personally, I would want to use this for medicinal purposes for myself and many other people I know who have been struck with illness, so I'm mostly interested in the tincture ingestion part of it. Answer: the stone can be ingested in any form, solid, powder, or dissolved. It does not matter how. It can also be put on the skin as an ointment. Question: isn't alchemy spiritual, about the path to enlightenment and the purification of the soul? Answer: no. The Philosopher's Stone is a real, physical object with all the attributed powers and more. The whole thing about the journey being worth more than the destination in alchemy is only because that in order to do alchemy, you must understand the cycles of nature. If you understand these cycles, then you understand how nature works. If you understand how nature works, then you understand something about God. But there are no magical effects just from trying to make it. Certainly, it will give you meaning to your life and peace of mind, which you could say is worth more than anything else. Question: I already have a medical condition, implant, pacemaker. What would happen if I take the stone? Answer: you will be cured. Any foreign body inside of you will either be ejected or dissolved. Question: what would happen if I fed the stone to my dog? Answer: same effect as on a human. Question: if one is to eat the stone daily to sustain its effects, are we meant to have the process constantly running? Answer: no, it can easily and quickly be multiplied once completed. Question: can my stone made out of my urine be used to heal someone else if they consume it? Answer: yes, there's nothing special about whose urine it is. You could even use the urine of an animal. Question: since the stone is made from urine, will diet affect it? Answer: possibly by a tiny degree, but I doubt it makes a big difference and is not worth worrying about. If you are alive, then your urine will be alive enough to make the stone. Question: is there a shortcut? Answer: there's no shortcut I know of, although I'm not claiming one does not exist. The white stone is the first you get, which is less powerful and won't keep you from death. It might cure a cancer, but it won't make you immortal. The red stone is the one that really makes you into something special. Question: why would you not need to eat if you ingested the red stone? Answer: this is how the stone works. It provides what I am calling life energy, which is what everything is made of. Any particle can be broken down into this and then remade into a new element. So when you ingest the stone, you don't need to eat anything else. You now have everything you need. Your body will convert it into exactly what it wants. When you eat food, this has to be digested in your stomach in an attempt to extract some life energy from it. So we are all living off just a little bit of energy, what we can extract from food, drink, and air. Lighter foods are easier to digest, so easier to extract the life energy, which is why they are more healthy. Question: if one is on medication, will it affect the stone? Also, would taking vitamins make it stronger or affect it in any way? Answer: unlikely. It doesn't matter too much what the content of the urine is, remember. We just want the volatile particles, whatever that may be. Question: you claim that the stone is made out of only one substance, and backs it up with quotes. However, then states about mixing water, gold, and silver into the mix. That is no longer one substance. Answer: there's no water added. The water is the distillate of the urine. The gold and silver are added at the end as a ferment. So it could be claimed that the stone is made from 2 or 3 substances, or it could be claimed to be 1. Either way, it doesn't really matter. The ferment is considered to be only for stabilizing the stone, and not really an ingredient as such, which is why the alchemists all claim that it is made from one thing alone. Question: since energy cannot be created nor destroyed, even if the urine contains life energy, or chi or whatnot, 1 liter of urine will contain the same amount of it today as it will in 3 years. Answer: matter contains a lot of energy, but it is already in a stable form, which is why we can't just turn any matter into energy. The process of making the stone breaks the matter down into energy, then traps it with the stable form of the ferment, silver or gold. Question: you say that the substance mixed with anything makes more of itself, since it breaks down the other substances and just further mixes it with its own structure. If that was true, then that means as soon as you ingested it, you would die, because the tissue that would touch this substance would break down. Answer: this was said in the context of projecting the stone onto molten metal. The stone must penetrate the metal in order to transmute it into gold or silver, or more stone. It does not penetrate so easily, which is why it is recommended to wrap the stone in wax or project it in a liquid state so that it penetrates into the metal. I said the stone converts what it overpowers into itself, but it can only overpower something of its same nature, which is a metal or mineral. Otherwise, a stone made once would end up transmuting the whole universe unto itself, which is not the case. It must penetrate into a metal or mineral. Question: some of the acclaimed uses just seem too surreal. To bring things back from the dead? Come on, that actually goes against nature, for nature dictates that all things has an expiration. Answer: how does it go against nature? Everything will die eventually, but life can be prolonged. A doctor can bring back a person with electricity. Is this not impossible under your terms? There is a time limit on resurrecting a dead body in this way. Your body still functions to some extent even after it dies. If it could be healed before it decomposes, then it would be exactly that, healed. There is always a reason for death, and with the problem cured, the body will live again. Question: if something dies, it still functions for a time, as you said. But if something dies and has been dead for some time, how do you expect to resurrect it after the body has been decomposed? Answer: after it has decomposed, it cannot be resurrected, as you said. The time given was 3 days. Within this time, a corpse could be brought back to life. But after this time, it will have already started to decompose, and then it is truly dead. Before this time, the body is still good in some sense, although unanimated. So instead of thinking of it as a resurrection, it should perhaps just be thought of as healing, the same as the stone does to a living body. Question: You also stated that with the stone, bodies can be made without the womb. How can that plausibly be possible, as the fetus is within the womb attached through the umbilical cord where nourishment and blood is fed? Answer: the life energy, which is the active ingredient of the stone, is what everything is made of. This is all any being needs to live and grow. It is this that is in the blood, and this is the true nourishment. Question: is the distillation to make white, red phosphorus? Answer: no. There is only a tiny amount of phosphorus in urine. Phosphorus also glows in the dark, so it's easy to spot, whereas our white salt does not. Question: is it bad for you to take too much of the stone? Answer: from my understanding, the reason why it is suggested to eat a tiny amount is because it would just be wasteful to use more. There is only a certain amount we can use at any time. Perhaps there could be too much, but I'm sure this amount would be obvious, just like we can have too much of anything. Question: since we are aiming to get life energy from the initial ingredient, would you see any benefit to, say, leading energy into it with intent before or during the gathering of the urine? Answer: intent affects this entire universe directly without having to play by the rules of this universe. So yes, it would always help. Question: given all else is equal, would you think that the process would be shorter for someone with more life energy than others? For example, an accomplished Qigong practitioner compared to the local drunk. I realize, though, that it would still work for both. Answer: it makes logical sense that it would be more efficient to use urine from a healthier or more spiritual person, although I'm not sure exactly how much difference it would make. Question: in regards to the addition of silver, what would be your take on the addition of molecular silver or ionic silver instead of shavings? Answer: the ferment, silver or gold, must be 100%, or at least close to that, pure. In these other states, the silver is mixed in with other elements. Question: if the urine is so full of life energy, why does our body dispose of it in the first place? It is already broken down enough, isn't it? Why doesn't the body simply consume the supposed life energy instead of rejecting it? Is the problem in our body? Answer: the life energy is in the water of our blood. Our body cannot separate it from the water directly, and so when it needs to get rid of the water, the life energy has to go with it. Question: the author has mentioned that the salt of the urine is one of the essential parts of it. What exactly does the salt of the urine contain and/or represent? I mean at the urine's normal state, not after the first part. Answer: the particles which make up the salt are in the body of the urine, which is the color or cloudy part of it. The specific minerals of the salt do not matter. It is just the lightest, most volatile particles in the non-water part of the urine. If we could extract life energy directly instead of through a medium, then this would not be necessary. But the life energy is too volatile to trap unless it is trapped in a body. The body must be of the correct requirements, for which our salt serves perfectly. It must be able to be purified, be as light as possible, and then be able to absorb the moisture, putrefy, decompose into smaller particles, and then the life energy will form it. You could say grow into the white stone, then the red stone. Following the laws of nature, of course, and assuming the conditions are correct. Question: is there an approximate chemical analysis that could be done of urine to establish what it is in the final stone to speed up production? Answer: maybe, but I doubt it. Again, I think the actual elements and compounds are only a body for the active principle, which is the life energy. Question: in the text, gold is mentioned as the purest, most evolved metal. What of platinum? Would the stone turn platinum to gold? Answer: platinum wasn't well known in the time that the alchemical books were written, so it was not mentioned. I don't know is the honest answer. It might turn out that the stone could be fermented with platinum and make platinum, although I doubt that. It's likely that platinum would be transmuted into gold. We'll find out, I suppose. Question: why gold, or silver for that matter? The only reason these two metals are so valuable is their rarity, along with the fact that they're quite pretty, and so can be made into nice things. At the end of the day, there's nothing particularly special about either of them, no? So why would these metals be involved in the making of the stone? And why would the stone turn other metals into them? Answer: as far as rarity goes, silver is reasonably common, whereas gold is more rare. However, in antiquity, silver and gold were worth almost the same. Gold was always worth more than silver, except in some rare circumstances, but the difference was not nearly as much as it is today. The reason why gold and silver are valuable and the most popular metals is because the stone makes gold and silver. Not that the stone happens to make those metals which are valuable. They are valuable because the stone can make them. This goes all the way back 12,000 years to when the stone was first hidden from the multitude. The philosopher kings of the time chose gold and silver to be the currency for their nations, since it was so easily controlled by them. They could make it, whereas the common people could not make it. Therefore, it was a perfect currency, much more secure than pieces of paper with lots of little lines on them, like we have now. Question: is there an approximate shelf life to urine? Answer: probably, but you never need to store it as urine, only as salt or distillate. Question: I understand about the reason for the low temperature distilling, but the first distillation is well above body temperature. Why doesn't that destroy the life force so that all the other distillations are working with liquid without the life force present? Answer: the first distillation during the first part is only at less than 80 degrees Celsius, which is not yet high enough to destroy the life energy. In the second part, white to black to white to red, you are only circulating the moisture, and so you use heat around body temperature, as this is best for allowing the moisture to evaporate and condense. Using 80 degrees Celsius here would mean the moisture would never condense. In the red stage, you use high heat again, but now the stone is already fermented with silver, so it can stand the high heat. Question: in the blackness phase, you don't specify exact temperature. Answer: actually, you do not want to follow any set instructions concerning the exact temperature at the black stage, or any stage following. The required temperature is variable depending on the amount of matter, size of vessel, ambient temperature, and other factors. You will just need to use common sense to optimize the temperature so that the moisture ascends and descends efficiently. That is so the matter is continuously watered and dried, but is never always dry or always wet. Question: I do not have the time now to perform it. Answer: for most of it, you are just making sure the heat is at the right temperature, and there are only 4 adjustments of the heat. So that's only one adjustment every 6 months or so. The rest of the time, the water bath is just running on electricity, all happy by itself. In the first part of the great work, you have to do more, but still it takes 1 week to distill the urine, and you have to do this 10 times. So that's only doing something once a week. Question: I think that if I tackle this project, I would probably get it right on the 3rd or 4th attempt. Let's say I get really good at making sure all the variables are precise. So 7 years the first time, 4 to 6 the second, and maybe 2 to 4 the following 1 or 2 attempts. Answer: you can't go wrong as long as you don't burn it. The stone might not develop any further if you do something wrong, but will always continue once you have corrected your mistake. This is where 5 or 8 years comes from. But that means that it is still only 5 or 8 years total, even if you make a mistake. As long as you don't burn it, that is. But the old alchemists didn't have electricity, and so had to use coals. We are using an electric water bath, which has temperature control, so there's probably not too much risk of burning it. Question: how much does it cost to buy all the apparatus? Answer: the glassware cost only a few dollars. The retorts are maybe $50. The water bath is the most expensive. They range from $100 to $1,000. You might be able to get a cheap one on eBay. Silver is not expensive. The gold will cost maybe $100 to $500, though you could sell silver you've transmuted to buy the gold. Question: could I make a few batches in case one goes wrong? Answer: it might be a good idea, But then if you put them in the same water bath, you would not be able to adjust the heat independently, in which case you may as well just have one batch. Several water baths would be expensive and they use a lot of power. The stone can only really go wrong if you burn it, but it might be an idea to have a batch where you try to use a higher degree of heat, and a batch where you are very conservative with the heat. Question: what if I have added too much water in the second part? Should a small amount of liquid be poured off, or the vessel opened to evaporate out? Answer: if it's only a little too much water, then you can just turn up the heat accordingly. If it is quite a bit too much, then better not to evaporate it off, or you may lose the best part of it. In this case, you would want to use a pipette to carefully remove the excess. Though it is much better to be very careful not to add too much water, it could seriously increase the time it takes to get the stone. Question: would it work better to filter the urine first? Answer: filtering the urine won't make any difference. The urine has already been filtered by your body. Now it needs to be distilled and calcined. Filtration works only for visible large particles, but we are dealing with something very small. Question: what sort of location should be used to carry out the work? Space is at a premium for me. The only place I have available with power to carry this out is in a small office-type room in the upstairs of my house. Answer: for the most part, it can even be done in a cupboard. A locked cabinet would be perfect. Not that much space is required. Question: can the apparatus be moved during the process? Say, relocated if moving home. Answer: the apparatus can. In the second part, you don't want the flask getting bashed around or turned upside down, but if you carefully carry it from one place to another, it should be okay. This will increase the time it takes because you'll have shaken it up, and so the layering will need to form again, but it will with time. Question: my partner and I are due a baby soon, and I am concerned about fumes, smells, etc. in the house. Can you please advise me if this is a viable location to conduct the great work, or should I wait until I can afford to hire some kind of lockup? Answer: your only concern with fumes is the calcining in the first part. This should be done outside. If you do not have an open and private garden, this could be done simply by taking a portable gas, electric stove, and the retort and disappearing for a couple hours to somewhere away from your home and in the open, where no one is going to interrupt you. Question: will the urine stink out my house when distilling? Answer: no, distilled urine doesn't smell strongly, and the urine will be in the retort and so will not smell since it's not open to the air. Only the calcinations cause a bad smell. Question: in the first part, you say after the distillation, calcination, the distilled urine must be distilled 3 times in the clean retort. My question regarding this step is, should I clean out the retort between distillations? Or the leftover, if any, can be left in the retort, just as in the distillation, calcination step? Answer: you do not need to clean out the retorts at any stage. You should be using a different retort, 2 retorts total, for the further 1 to 3 distillations. There is no need to clean the retort in between these distillations because the distillate is already super clean, and each distillation makes it even purer. Question: do I need 2 retorts because I'll break one to collect the white salt? If the white salt is collected without breaking the retort, then could I clean out the same retort and reuse it to distill the rest of the urine future? Answer: yes, in case you break it, and also because your first retort will get very dirty. You'd have a hard time cleaning it unless you use something very strong like paint thinner. Question: how do you remove the white crystals from the retort? Are they fairly hard to remove? Do you need to scrape? And then what's the best way to remove impurities? Answer: they're not too hard to remove, but the crystals need to be cracked and broken. Then the black bits on them can be separated. A knife is good for this. If you touch the crystals, they sting your skin, but I touched them plenty of times and didn't die. Question: do you need to use a lid for the water bath? Answer: it doesn't need a lid, but with no lid you'd be wasting a lot of energy and will be constantly having to top it up with more water. During the first part, if you don't use a lid, the heating element may not be able to heat the water up to the right temperature. A lid is strongly recommended. For a quick and cheap lid, you could use cling film and put towels on top of this for insulation. Question: some of the apparatus are rather costly, especially the water bath. Is it possible to improvise? Answer: water baths are very simple appliances. They're just expensive because they're specialist equipment. Anything that will heat water to a temperature you can set will do the job. I'm sure there are cheap alternatives. If you're into electronics, I'm sure it's possible to put one together from the components easily and cheaply. eBay is a good place for all the necessary apparatus. The largest piece of glassware you put into the water bath is only a 500 milliliter retort, and so the capacity of the water bath need not be larger than this. Unfortunately, it is difficult to find a water bath this small. It doesn't matter if you use a larger one, it is just more expensive and more wasteful of power. Question: during the first part, distillation, could the vapor contact with, for example, silicone used to glue glass, metal as in a jar lid, or other reasonable solid building materials? Would this affect the process negatively? Answer: metal is maybe not a good idea, but silicone is fine. Just make sure it's completely dry before you begin. Question: is the retort a must? I have a 500 milliliter glass still with a gram condenser and all the glass joints. No good? Answer: the reason for the retort is simply because the water will not ascend very high before it condenses when you are only using low heat. The water will not be boiling. It will just be slowly evaporating, which means it does not have much energy and will condense again as soon as it can. If you use glassware where the opening for it to escape to the condenser is too high, then the water will never get this high, and so it will not distill. This is why a retort is recommended. But if your apparatus allows the water to escape and condense still very close to the heat source, like a retort, then this will work fine. Question: what is your opinion on the pelican? Answer: the pelican is not a piece of apparatus. It is just the theory that the moisture circulates, based on a strange medieval idea that pelicans feed their young with their own blood. These pelican vessels you can buy are not for real alchemy. Our pelican is a round-bottom Florence flask. Question: how could we produce enough of these stones so that everyone could have one? Answer: once the stone is made once, you can easily make more of it, so you only have to make it once using the long process. Then you can quickly multiply it. It would be possible for only one person in the world to make the stone. Then they would be able to give it out to everyone. Each person would be able to quickly multiply it and give it to more people. Question: how do we avoid greedy and stubborn people from trying to keep the stone for themselves and form a superhuman elite? Answer: this already happened. I'm now releasing the secret for everyone. Question: what will happen to the world economy if everyone is suddenly able to make gold out of every piece of metal junk they find at home? Answer: the release of the stone will bring down our civilization to make way for the golden age. Our civilization is built on lies and so will fall. To reveal the roots is to destroy the tree. Additionally, everyone keeps their money in banks. Banks are invested in energy, medicine, gold. So with the release of the stone, the banking systems will all crash, which means all business will stop. Question: I get the impression that you learned this from someone. Answer: I just learned from reading the alchemical writings, the same ones everyone else reads. Question: the making of the stone is just a method in the process of making you believe in what you are doing. Answer: no, there is the stone, then there is changing the world by intention. These are different. The stone is a real physical object and energy in this dream universe, whereas our intentions change the dream universe. Question: it is a little suspicious, like a guy that wants to make himself a reputation, maybe to sell his future book, or just for fame. Answer: I don't care about reputation, else I would have given my name. I only care that people read the book, which is free and public domain, by the way. Question: I don't understand the motive to share it with the world. You should know human nature is not love, peace, compassion, friendship. Actually, humans are hateful creatures and always want more money and power. Answer: only when they think they have to steal these things from other people. If people were not worried about themselves and so caught up in things that don't matter, then they would care about other people naturally. We only attack because we think everyone else is attacking us. Question: if alchemists didn't share it, I think it's because they knew it wouldn't work. Answer: or because they knew it would. Question: in the book you said you hadn't actually finished the work, yet the level of detail with regards to the finished product was seemingly precise. Answer: yes, I have read hundreds and hundreds of alchemical texts. They each give a little clue. Put them all together and it's already overkill. I haven't seen it performed by anyone else, but I have got this far on my own, and I know it will work because it follows the laws of nature. If it did not work, then we live in a universe where actions do not lead to consequences. I have never been to Mongolia, but I believe that it exists because everything points to its existence. If Mongolia was a lie, then so much of the world, charts, history, etc., would not make sense. So I believe in Mongolia. I have seen evidence for Mongolia's existence, even if I have not seen it firsthand. My belief in the stone is the same. I am sure of it, as it makes perfect sense, and I understand how it works, and why it works. The universe would not make sense if it did not exist. Question: what makes you certain that this is the right recipe? Perhaps when we try it, we'll get poisoned. Answer: this is the right recipe. If you're worried about the stone being toxic, then all the person has to do is try first to transmute some metal into gold with it, and they will see it work. No one is forcing them to immediately ingest something without testing it first. It could also be fed to an animal, or given to a plant, etc., to test the effects. Question: what will you do if you find out that it doesn't work as you believe it will? Will you write that you have made it and the process doesn't work? Will you be convinced that it is impossible? Will you try again? Will you expose yourself? Answer: if something goes wrong with my stone, then I will start again and let everyone know of this so they can avoid the same mistake. But I am already at the black stage, so much of the danger has passed already. The signs come as predicted. They would not appear in exactly the order as described by the alchemists, and then the stone not work in the end. That would make this a universe where actions do not lead to consequences, as I understand why it is working and can see the evolution and the work of nature with my own eyes. My belief has a solid foundation. Nothing will convince me this is impossible any more than I can be convinced that the sun is made of jelly beans, even though I have not been to the sun personally, but that is no argument for the sun being made of jelly beans. Question: is the life of a sage really as lonely as it has been said? Answer: I expect sages are less lonely than the average person. They just have nothing else to complain about. Question: I'm scared about what will happen to me and my family if there is a catastrophe. Answer: in the big picture of things, everyone is going to be so much happier than they are now, and everyone after the event will know and understand this. But before the event there is and will be a lot of fear, since we are always scared of what we don't understand. The stone will enable some people to survive what happens. It is perhaps not the stone itself that does this, or perhaps it is. But the stone enables one to see things how they truly are, both just by understanding it and also by its direct effects on our body and mind. What will happen? It's kind of up to you. There is not really any benefit to living here on Earth any more than there would be to die and go up to the higher planes. So you don't need to feel sorry for yourself or anyone else, or worry about what will happen to yourself or others. It might be scary, but it's worth it, and you can at least appreciate that you're only living through this because you chose to be born into this time, so it was already your choice to experience what will happen. And we can't really save each other. Actually, there is nothing to be saved from, since both options are better than what we have now. Because in a way, everyone judges themselves. And not only that, but they already made their choice of whether to stay or leave before they were even born here. The only thing to fear is fear itself. Question: will you begin to distribute the replicas of your stone when you can create them in short periods of time? Answer: yes, but don't rely on me to do this. It might not get to you in time. Question: how does one study alchemy? Web searches turn up all sorts of conflicting messages. Do you have any advice? Answer: study the old books, not the new ones, with the exception perhaps of Fulcanelli. The 16th and 17th century texts are the more easy to understand. Firstly, I'd say to read all the books from my bibliography, then go ahead and look for more. Be careful about listening to interpretations. If something is true, it has to make sense with nature. This is a natural process. You should be able to understand how it works, not assume it is something beyond you. Most people who don't understand feel this way not because it is too complicated for them, but because it is too simple for them. Question: I'd like to begin the process. Any other tips you have? Answer: everything is in the book. Read it through several times until you fully understand how the process works. Perhaps read the full source of any quotes you find interesting. Then start by obtaining the apparatus and just following the instructions. Be patient. Chapter 56. Bibliography. In this book, I quoted from 47 different alchemical texts, which are listed alphabetically below. I have read more than 100 alchemical texts, but many are useless, so I don't feel the need to list them here. All of the following can be read on the internet for free, from the 4 sites I mentioned in the foreword. A Brief Guide to the Celestial Ruby by Irenaeus Philalethes, 1694 AD. A Demonstration of Nature by John A. Mehung, 16th to 17th century. A Dialogue by Alexander von Suchten, 16th to 17th century. A Golden and Blessed Casket of Nature's Marvels by Benedictus Figulus, 1607 AD. A Magnificent and Select Tract on Philosophical Water by Anonymous, 13th to 17th century. A Short Tract or Philosophical Summary by Nicholas Flamel, 15th century. A Subtle Allegory Concerning the Secrets of Alchemy by Michael Mayer, 1617 AD. A Tract of the Great Price Concerning the Philosophical Stone by a German sage, 1423 AD. A Very Brief Tract Concerning the Philosophical Stone by an unknown German sage, 15th to 17th century. Altar of the Therific Tie by B.M.I. of the Rosicrucians, 1616 AD. An Anonymous Treatise Concerning the Philosopher's Stone by Anonymous, 12th to 17th century. An Excellent Introduction to the Art of Alchemy by Peter Bonus, 14th century. An Explanation of the Natural Philosopher's Tincture of Paracelsus by Alexander von Suchten, 16th century. An Open Entrance to the Closed Palace of the King by an anonymous sage and lover of truth, 1645 AD. Aphorisms of Eurbigurus by Barrow Eurbigurus, 1690 AD. Book of the Chemical Art by Marsilius Ficinus, 15th century. Compound of Compounds by Albertus Magnus, 13th century. Dwellings of the Philosophers by Fulcanelli, 1929 AD. Fama Fraternitatis by the Rosicrucians, 1614 AD. Golden Calf by John Frederick Helvetius, 17th century. Man, the Best and Most Perfect of God's Creatures by Benedictus Figulus, 1607 AD. On the Gold Medicine and on the Yellow and the White by Ko Hung, 4th century, Chinese. On the Philosopher's Stone by Anonymous, 12th to 17th century. Shi Xing Ling, disciple of Chang Pao Tuong and Sai Tao Kuang, disciple of Shi Sling Ling, 11th to 13th century, Chinese. The Aurora of the Philosophers by Theophrastus Paracelsus, 16th century. The Book of the Revelation of Hermes by Theophrastus Paracelsus, 16th century. The Chemical Treatise, or The Ordinal of Alchemy, by Thomas Norton, 1477 A.D. The Chemist's Key, by Henry Nollius, 1617 A.D. The Crowning of Nature, by Anonymous, 16th to 17th century. The Emerald Tablet, by Hermes. The Epistle of Bonus of Ferrara, by Peter Bonus, 14th century. The Fount of Chemical Truth, by Irenaeus Philalethes, 1694 A.D. The Glory of the World, or Table of Paradise, by Anonymous, 1526 A.D. The Golden Age Restored, by Henry Mattathanas, 1622 A.D. The Golden Tract Concerning the Stone of the Philosophers, by an anonymous German philosopher, 16th to 17th century. The Metamorphosis of Metals, by Irenaeus Philalethes, 1694 A.D. The Mirror of Alchemy, by Roger Bacon, 13th century. The New Atlantis, by Francis Bacon, 1627 A.D. The New Chemical Light, by Michael Sindavogius, 17th century. The New Pearl of Great Price, by Peter Bonus, 1338 A.D. The Root of the World, by Roger Bacon, 13th century. The Secret Book of Artephius, by Artephius, 12th century. The Sophic Hydrolith, or Waterstone of the Wise, by Anonymous, 17th century. The 12 Keys, by Basilius Valentinus, 15th century. 3 Alchemical Poems, by Chang Po Tuong, 11th century, Chinese. Verbum Dismissum, by Count Bernard Trevisan, 15th century. Wu Chang Pian, Essay on the Understanding of Truth, by Chang Po Tuong, 1078 A.D., Chinese.